One of the things I keep getting asked a lot is to do a video about how I got into this, how I ended up traveling the country in a vintage bus, helping people work on their buses. It's kind of a really crazy story, and I figured I'd go ahead and share it. To start the story, I should probably go back to my high school years. I've always had a love affair with Volkswagens. This is a Volkswagen thing that I currently have and tow behind the bus sometimes. But my first three vehicles were Volkswagen Beetles. I got one when I was 15. It didn't run right. I had time to get it fixed up and running before I got my driver's license. In high school, I went to the area career center for automotive repair stuff. I was signed up to go away to Wyoming Tech, and at the very last minute, I decided to go to a regular college. While in college, I got a job working part time at a photography studio, and I just kind of let that grow and ended up dropping out of college. And the photography career really took off, and we ended up being very well known for what we were doing. We were national speakers. We traveled a circuit, teaching other photographers to do what we were doing. We owned several studios. We were really successful, won a lot of top national awards, and that photography led me to buying some buses. The first bus I bought was this ratty old school bus that we used as a photo prop. And then I found this hippie bus that was really cool hippie bus on the internet at a charity auction, and I bid on it and we won it. And then I had to get somebody to drive that bus home from California to Indiana, where we were from, and I couldn't find anybody to drive it. So I ended up having to fly out there myself and drive the bus back. And honestly, I was quite mad that I had to drive it back myself. I had no interest in buses whatsoever, other than it was just going to be a photo prop. And a couple hundred miles into the trip, I called my wife on the phone and said, I just love driving this thing. It is so much fun. We're going to fix it up and keep it. Well, owning a 50-year-old bus comes with lots of maintenance that's required on it, and especially overdue maintenance. So one thing led to another, and I was, replacing airbags, working on suspension, brakes, air system, just all kinds of things just to keep it roadworthy and ready to hit the road. At that point, I'd really kept things just, basic maintenance items, working on the bus like that. And then I went on a road trip with a group of photographer friends, and we had a breakdown. And the breakdown, we cracked the liner on the engine. We went to a shop on the road. They quoted us like 13 grand to have a rebuild. Long story short here, they only repaired the one cylinder but charged us for all six. We were still having some problems. We took it to another one of their shops, and they looked at it and they said, "This rebuild has not been done like they said it was." And they ended up giving us a refund. And at that point, I grabbed the book, went through the book, and with the help of my son, we rebuilt the engine ourselves. And then that led to us starting an online forum where we could talk to other bus owners and talk about maintenance and stuff like that. And from there, we had a bus rally. And one of our friends broke down on the way to the rally. His name was Paul. And he had his bus towed to a Detroit diesel shop in Fargo, North Dakota. And they charged him like $2,100. Thought it was fixed. He showed up there and it wasn't fixed. It was hemorrhaging oil real bad, running terribly. We suspected it had a broken liner, so my son and I went up there with some bunch of extra parts and met Paul there, and we replaced a cylinder liner kit in his bus in the parking lot of the Detroit diesel shop in 8 hours, and then had him driving back to Canada. That led to us rescuing buses, and then we just started doing that on the side for a while. A funny thing about Paul, on the way back to Canada, we were following his bus, and he hit a construction cone with the black tank drain valve on his bus sticks out a little further than everything else, and he nailed it, and it busted right off. And if you've ever seen like an airplane water bomber drop water on a forest fire, that's exactly how everything flew out of his crap tank on the highway. It was very, very funny. And then I ended up buying another bus, the one that I have now, and just continued to work on that. And then people started having me come help them do maintenance. Like they didn't have the right tools or they didn't have the ability to do it. And for 4 or 5 years, I was just traveling around part time in my spare time, helping people work on their buses, going to bus rallies, working on buses for people. It was just, I had a neck injury. I couldn't be a photographer anymore. I couldn't hold a camera to my face. Just by having my hands up by my head was extreme pain. So I wasn't really able to shoot pictures anymore, but I could help people work on their buses. It didn't require me to have my hands by my face. And for several years, that's what I did. So slowly, this part-time thing just turned into a full-time job. I was traveling the country in the bus. I would be on the road for like 3 weeks at a time and then try to be back home. And then my wife started traveling with me, and then it wasn't, I didn't have to be in a hurry to be back home in 3 weeks or so. So we were on the road for months and months at a time. And this year so far, we've only been at our home in Indiana for 1 week out of this entire year. So we've really been on the road a lot. but it's just, grown into this where it's full time. We have the online form that we've had for, I want to say 6 years maybe, and it's just a fun experience, and we're helping people work on their buses, keeping the buses on the road, and having a great time doing it. So what I'm really doing in my business model that's different is I only work on the vintage buses. So if it's got a mechanical two-stroke Detroit diesel in it, that's what I do. I don't mess with computerized systems, none of the modern stuff. It's really just vintage buses. But I also encourage the bus owners to work alongside me. I actually give them a $15 an hour discount for working with me. So they're saving money, but they're learning about their bus. And that's the most important part to me, is that they're understanding the systems a little bit better on their bus, how it works. Plus, they're saving money, so they're eager to do it. There's nothing more exciting than getting a bus owner's bus back on the road. They love that. It's so much fun. My shop rates, I'm under $100 an hour. Most shops are going to be about $150 an hour. And then you add the $15 an hour discount for helping. I definitely make it more affordable for my clients. I've got tons of amazing references. We have the online forum that's growing every day. It's if you're part of that, you're part of the bus community, and people on there are so helpful and sharing of knowledge and parts and everything. I've never yet come across a bus part I've not been able to locate, because we have such a large group of friends and people that we know in the bus community. We're really doing something different. Nobody else is doing what we're doing, and we're just having a great time.